The thing that inspired me to become a writer was just my love of books. I've had a love of books and storytelling from a very young age, and it's been amazing in recent years seeing that same sort of storytelling come out into video games as well. So I visited a castle about 10 years ago with friends in Wales, and that's where this idea for a book just popped into my head about a child who inherits a castle of their own with all kinds of magical secrets hidden within it. So that was the moment that kind of where it really hit me. Here's your idea for a story, you can write this book, and that's where I started. I think my advice for young writers would be never tear your work up. That's what I used to do all the time when I was a kid and I was writing stories. I think this is terrible, and I just tear it up and I wouldn't go back to it, and I'd get quite sort of demotivated. And I find what you've got to do is just trust yourself in the future. You can go back, you can edit this piece, you can make it better. There are some unique challenges in writing for a video game in that when you're writing a book, it's all you're just you're putting this story down. But when you're creating a video game, obviously a game needs to have exciting gameplay mechanics as well. It needs to have it needs to have a number of things that the character needs to do in order to keep the game interesting, and that can often clash with the storytelling in a game. So the idea generation stage is the first part of any project I get to, and I like to sit down and just play with ideas for a long time before I settle on any of them. The advice I'd give to a young person wanting to enter the games industry as a writer would be to obviously write and read as much as possible beforehand. There's some fantastic tools available to writers now, such as Twine, which it takes about 30 seconds to learn how to use Twine, and that allows you to create branching narratives like the old Choose Your Own Adventure books by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson. And that's a great way to get into actually creating your own story-based game without the need for any programmers or artists. So that's a great way to show off what you can do in a games format. Getting my first book deal was tough. It's tough for any author. I think you've got to have perseverance. So before you can get a publishing deal, you've got to have an agent nowadays. Very few publishers will accept a book unless it comes through an agent. And landing an agent can be a lot more difficult than that. One of the things you can do, which I did, was I entered quite a few writing competitions, and while I didn't win any of those, I was actually shortlisted for most of them, and just putting that you were shortlisted in particular writing competitions really helps your manuscript get to the top of the slush pile. I like pretty much the same sort of books that I liked when I was a child now. I'll still actually reread a lot of the books I read when I was very young. So I've just reread Matilda by Roald Dahl, which is absolutely fantastic. But I read a lot of adult books. The adult books that I read are again full of magic, sort of set in the real world. So kind of magical realism is probably my favourite genre of books. And I read a lot of Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman as well, because they, that's a magical but realistic world. I think the Storysmash project is absolutely wonderful. It's been brilliant to see how young people have been encouraged to work with software such as Twine, creating their own interactive branching narratives and games, which then encourages a love of reading, encourages a love of writing, and it's great to see libraries such as Nottingham really embracing the future like that.